How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, appearing on the Joe Rogan podcast a few days ago. Now, I'm kind of late to the party. I'm just now hearing the clips for myself and what's going on. People are outraged by the podcast because they feel like Joe Rogan did not go hard enough on Jack as it relates to questions of censorship and anti-conservative bias and whatnot. Now, Jack has offered to come back on Joe Rogan's podcast to answer some more questions. If I was Joe Rogan, I would not waste my time. Why? Because he will not answer any real questions. And Joe Rogan, I'm not sure if he's going to ask those real questions. People are upset. They're saying that he didn't go hard enough. He wasn't aggressive enough. Some people defended him and they said, well, he just has, people on the podcast. It's kind of friendly. It's a conversation. And I was kind of riding with that at first, but I had to remember, let's not forget about Stephen Crowder. When he was on there talking about weed, he was getting cursed out by Joe Rogan, calling them the P word, all kind of stuff. I don't curse here, but obviously he does. Then he had Candace Owens on there, and the topic of climate change came up, and he really was offended by that. Joe Rogan, that is, because Candace, like myself, is a climate skeptic. She's like, hey, wait a minute. You can't just say that this is true. I mean, where's the real evidence? You have circumstantial evidence, basically, is what she was saying. He didn't like that. He was going off on her. So let's not act like Joe Rogan can't get aggressive when he needs to be. He's aggressive when he wants to be. I think he's aggressive when things actually affect him and he's personally offended, like climate change for some reason, and also the whole issue of weed. Stephen Crowder is not a pothead. Joe Rogan is. Therefore, there was some conflict right there. When it comes to Jack, however, I didn't hear any cursing. I didn't hear any aggressive tone. It was really professional, really buttoned up, not asking a whole lot of important questions. He's asking about Alex Jones, why did Alex Jones get banned? And Jack was like, well, I don't really know what the actual violations were, but he was doing a lot of the same violation. Okay. I mean, isn't that kind of important to know why Alex Jones got banned? Because more than anything else, it would allow those of us normies to know what you can and can't say that will get you banned. I think that Jack does know why Alex Jones got banned and the specific reason, but he won't say it because the thing about Twitter is that they have an anti-conservative bias. They have the bias internally with their employees, but there's also a bigger issue here I get to in a minute. He won't give you the real answer. He'll give you the answer that you are going to use and put that out there to say that Jack Dorsey said. There's real answers here, and I'm going to go ahead and get straight into it. Alex Jones was a liability for the company financially. He's looking at it from the point of view of the advertisers that invest in the company, the actual investors into the company. If they're not satisfied with the people that are on the platform, that's going to affect them negatively. However, it's only about certain people that come from a certain part of the internets. It's not a blanket thing that applies to everybody that violates the policy. In the interview, podcast, whatever you want to call it, with Joe Rogan, Jack Dorsey was saying, well, if you violate certain policies, that'll be room for the, termination, suspension, or whatever. And the reason why there's so many people that may fall under one kind of, political spectrum being suspended is because they are having their tweets reported and then we review it. Others who say similar things like leftist racists, calling me personally, Anthony, the N-word, stuff like that, they are not getting suspended. He says that it's because of lack of reporting, but that's not really true, in my opinion, because a lot of these blue check mafia people are the main offenders of the terms of service at Twitter. They talk about white people terribly. They talk about black people terribly that are conservative. They're really a lot of vile people that happen to have that blue check mark. Now, the thing about being a blue checker is that you have to actually apply for that. You got to send a license. Like, they really review you. So if you have all these blue checkers that are doing these things, then how can you say that they're not being reviewed? They have to be reviewed in order to have that check mark. Matter of fact, I tried to get into the whole blue check mafia game probably about 2-3 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was. It was a while ago. I got rejected. Now, at the time, I did not have that many followers. It probably was about 4,000 or 5,000 followers. Not really sure how many I had. But the follower count is not necessarily the reason why you would be verified and have a blue check. You could be a celebrity. You could be somebody that works for a nonprofit. They are selective with who they give the blue check to. It's not just about your engagement, your followers. It's about you as an individual. That's how I know they manually review these profiles. But yet, after the manual review, these profiles are allowed to stay on, spewing just utter racism. People that are known to be racist, Ilhan Omar, Lena Sarsour, the list goes on. They're known to be racist, but they're allowed to still stay on Twitter, where guys like Alex Jones are not. Alex Jones was taken off of a lot of platforms on the internet, and it was pretty much done all at once. So he can't say, well, it's because he violated X, Y, and Z. No. Because if it's about that, then why did other platforms ban him at the same time? They probably got the same phone call from the same advertiser and said, okay, if Alex Jones is not gone by X, Y, and Z day, we're cutting off your funding. We're not going to buy ads with you anymore. So they're looking at it from a point of view of, well, let's get rid of him to save the whole platform. Because if the platform can't be saved, then he's gone anyway. If, they got to do something in either way, in either scenario, he has to be gone. That's just what it is. Same thing with Patreon. You got guys out here virtue signaling, talking about, yeah, I'm getting off of Patreon, but come to my website and donate there. They got PayPal and Visa, MasterCard, etc. buttons on their website. Meanwhile, the reason, in my opinion, that people like Sargon of Akkad and others were removed from Patreon is because the payment processors did not want to have him and others like him on the platform. Matter of fact, shout out to Matt Christensen. He had an interview with somebody from Patreon, and they all but said that. They were like, look, we have our own policies over at Patreon, but we also have payment processors and other companies we have to please as well. And those companies obviously are PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, etc. Because remember when they had this whole thing, Subscribestar, it was going to be the Patreon alternative. They got nixed within the first 48 hours of really being associated with Sargon and others, because PayPal and Visa, etc. said, we're not going to allow you to process payments on this particular website. That would have been the same thing that happened to Patreon. So Patreon said, okay, might as well get rid of him right now, because if we don't, the whole platform will suffer and he'll be gone anyway, because there will be no more platform. He was going to be gone regardless of what. So Joe Rogan, if you have Jack back on the podcast, ask him some real questions. Don't just give him these surface statements that a normie would ask, talking about, well, why did he get banned? And then when he says, I don't know, you just let him off the hook. That's not how that should be. Get into it for real. Get into the back end of the whole situation. Talk about other companies that they deal with. Talk about advertisers, because let's be clear, Twitter at one point was totally not profitable. They were losing money. How are they making money right now? It's the advertisers. And if they don't want to have their products, their services, etc., affiliated with certain types of content, that's going to make a big impact on the company itself. And that's going to determine how a lot of their policies are going forward, how the policies are actually enforced. Okay. I don't want to hear this whole thing about, well, the tweets aren't really getting reported from the other side. That's not true, because you review these profiles and accept them into the blue check mafia gang. Okay. So I would think that they would have a higher level of scrutiny on them and a higher level of, I don't know what it's called, vetting, obviously, because you have to apply. It's not like you just get knighted with the blue check. You have to apply and they do a manual review. So that is pretty much all I got. Don't let anybody tell you that Joe Rogan can't get aggressive. He can get aggressive when he wants to. He's not always this, cool, laid back guy that lets you just talk and have a conversation. When a thing affects him personally, like climate change for some reason, and also his lovely weed, he gets very aggressive. When it comes to conservative censorship and stuff like that, not so much. And you also can't say he doesn't really know what's going on, because he was asking about Sargon of Akkad, Alex Jones. If you know, you know. Don't act like you don't. But I'll leave that right there for now. What do you think? Do you think that Joe Rogan was too soft on Jack Dorsey from Twitter? Did he not ask the real questions? Did he not follow up with questions that should have been followed up on? I think all of the above are pretty much true. He was soft on him, didn't really go too hard. He can go hard, like I said, but he didn't do that in this particular situation. Is there a reason for that? Is there some kind of financial tie between Joe Rogan and Jack Dorsey? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.